information from our SciComm email. You'll see that. I'm sure they'll talk about that later too. So what to expect, you'll learn about different careers in the fields of science communication. Last year we had a lot of medical writers. This year we're gonna have new people. So one of the, or new careers, I guess. So we're gonna have, for example, a science policy advisor from the NIH, a medical liaison from a medical liaison company, an account director from a medical marketing and advertising company, and a science consultant at UPenn. So expect to learn a lot about different careers you can pursue with skills with science communication. And as Lisa pointed out before, everyone's looking for that. So this is great that you're here. So what you'll get from the workshop, you'll access panelists in smaller groups to discuss their specific career paths, learn about the writing or other test or interview that's needed to enter the fields. The attendees will be providing samples for you to actually work on and prepare, and then learn what makes a successful test and candidate. So the deliverable for this assignment, I don't know if we've talked about the deliverables yet, but every workshop will have a deliverable which will earn you extra points, which, oh yeah, Lisa just talked about that, which will earn you more points. And this one is the practice a writing test for a career path that interests you and get feedback from reviewers from the Jefferson's postdoc scientific editing and reviewing team. So once you do the deliverable within, I think it'll be like 2 weeks or a month. We'll tell you more about the deadlines for that at the event. The PCERT program will give you feedback on your test, and I think Nikita is going to tell you more about PCERT. Are we doing that now?
Sure. Is Nikita here? I didn't see her name. Nikita, unmute yourself if you're here. Nope, I don't think she's with us.
Pam, I'm
sure
with us.
Pam can step in.
Yes, yeah. I can step in, and I mentor the group. But for those of you who are either a postdoc or a graduate student, this is something that might be of interest to you. So the postdocs have a team, if you will, where they practice reviewing manuscripts for one another, and also occasionally they will work on graduate student papers that might be for publication. So they would serve as reviewers before that graduate student submitted their introduction or methods or whatever to their PI. And they give feedback. So it's all about writing for one another, for getting the feedback that you might potentially need for submitting for publication. But they also will step in from time to time and do other projects, such as giving feedback on presentations for PhD students in the grant writing class, or acting as reviewers for the science communication series. And they are very good at it. Many of them are reviewers already, but they also practice it as an internal team. So it's a great opportunity to submit your work to scientists in multiple fields who would then give you feedback on it. So that's what PCERT is. And for postdocs out there and senior PhD students, if you're interested, see me or contact me, because maybe you'd like to join the team.
Excellent, thanks Pam. Tess, are we good with this slide? I think this was enough.
All good to go.
Great, all right. Next slide and the next session up is how to write an abstract, and I'm gonna hand it back over to Pam.
Yes, and I'll be brief about this one. It's exactly what it sounds like. If you come to this session, you'll learn tips for writing a clear, strong abstract, which is so important for your audience. And what you'll get from the workshop would be learn the elements of a strong abstract and really learn more about the importance of audience. So think about who is going to read that abstract and what they use it for. The deliverable for this, for the 3 points, would be to submit an abstract for a journal. So you wouldn't actually be writing for a journal, but if you were going to be writing for a journal or other purpose, you'd submit that to us and you'll get feedback from the PCERT reviewers. And what I'm going to say, for those of you who are saying, I'm not working on an abstract for anything, come to the class anyway And I'll have an assignment ready for those of you who don't have anything that you're currently working on. I'll give you a manuscript, and the deliverable assignment will be to write an abstract for a manuscript that you're given in class. And you'll still get your 3 points, even though you're not writing something that would be submitted for publication. So that's the abstract.
Great, thanks, Pam.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Pam's going to talk once again on the next slide for our December session on graphical abstracts.
Yes. So graphical abstracts is also what it sounds like. And if you read Cell and Nature and other journals, you'll see they're doing this, and you can too. A graphical abstract is all of your science in a picture. So it should summarize and really augment understanding for your audience. So find out how to replace words with a picture and try your hand at making one for this class. And what you'll do in this workshop, you'll hear about tools that you can use to create a graphical abstract and get some design tips for them, because not every picture is worth 1,000 words if you have to scratch your head and think about what the picture says. And that's what your deliverable will be, is you'll go to the class and then afterwards design a graphical abstract for your science, any piece of it, and again, submit it for feedback from the reviewers.
Great, thanks, Pam.
Mm-hmm.
Then starting off 2021, we'll be writing about science for a general audience. Karuna, can you tell us about that session?
Yeah, hi everyone, my name is Karuna. As Lisa mentioned, I'm a science writer here. So this session, Writing About Science for a General Audience, will really cover the basic skills for and foundation for any science communication endeavor that you might want to go on, and that's writing about science for a general audience. So we'll go through sort of the different styles of articles that as a science writer you might write, whether it's a news piece or you might want to do a portrait on a particular researcher, a Q&A, and so we'll cover these different types of articles. And during the workshop, we'll go through some exercises on how to outline a story and what goes into creating these different types of articles. And for the deliverable, you would basically do one of these pieces on a primary literature or a paper. It could be yours, it could be another researcher at Jefferson. In order for, if you want to submit your deliverable for publication, as Lisa mentioned, there's opportunities for publication through these different avenues, whether it's the Health Nexus or Nexus or our own Jefferson Research website. If you do want to go that route, then your piece would have to be on research done at Jefferson, or it could be done on a researcher that you admire or outside of Jefferson. But if you are considering publication, it should be Jeff work. So yeah, this session was really popular last year. So yeah, I hope you guys check it out.
Great, thanks, Karuna. So then we move along into February, and we're back to Pam again.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know me, I have a Master of Fine Arts. So I am a strange bird in the Jefferson College of Life Sciences. And this It's All About Posters is really fun for me because there's a little bit of creativity in creating a poster. So we're going to look at 2 different designs of posters. And if you haven't seen the better poster, then you ought to check it out. Even if you're coming to the session, you could check it out in advance, but it's really interesting. And we'll talk about the virtual poster as well. What you'll get from this workshop, you'll try your hand at designing a poster in the different styles and learn how virtual posters get noticed, because that can be a whole different animal. And then you'll practice a quick poster pitch. So you actually talk through your poster idea in this workshop. But the deliverable for the 3 points after the workshop would be to submit a poster in template form. You don't have to make a big full-size poster, but you do need to submit it, and you'll get some feedback from reviewers on that poster. It's all about posters.
Okay, and there's a lot of scientific conferences that our students and postdocs usually go to in person in the spring. But very well, most of them is likely to be virtual. So Pam will be talking about that as well. So that's great. Then we move along into March, and we're talking about science on social media. Nikki, were you going to talk about that?
Corinne was going to introduce it first.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So as you guys might know, some of you might already be on social media platforms, but social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and even YouTube have become a great place for scientists to interact with each other, network, but it's also become a great place to communicate your science. You might have seen these little YouTube videos or Twitter takeovers as we've done on our Jefferson Research channel. So in the workshop, we'll get, if you aren't set up on one of these platforms, we'll get you started on setting up an account, and we'll focus on Twitter because that seems to be where most scientists hang out. So we'll set you up on, we'll get you started on setting up an account and let you interact with other people in the workshop, and we'll also go through some tips and best practices to cultivate your online presence and your community and how to best interact with that community. And Nikki will talk a little bit about some of the deliverables options.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name's Nikki. I'm a 5th year neuroscience PhD student. And so this was actually one of our events from last year, and it was very, very popular. We had a lot of Jefferson students, postdocs, researchers, actually create Twitter accounts afterwards. And so we had a lot of people participate in a Twitter takeover. And so what you do is you actually take control of the Research at Jeff Twitter for a day, and it's really fun and a great way to communicate your science. So I teamed up with a postdoc in my lab, and we talked about, you know, some of our recent papers that were published in our lab, and we also retweeted other researchers in the area in our field. So we're a spinal cord injury lab, so we retweeted some Drexel papers that just came out, and things like that. And so other people also did their research, but then they also talked about topics such as women in science. I think there was one on clinical research. There was one about coming back to the lab after the pandemic and quarantine and how to do that. So it's just kind of a fun way to talk about you know, anything that affects researchers, whether it's research or otherwise. And so this year we're actually adding another option for the deliverable, which would be if you create a video on Instagram or YouTube or some other platform, you can actually repost it on Twitter. So, and then that would be the deliverable as well. So we didn't have that option last year. So we're kind of excited about that and hope that some people actually do that, because that would be fun.
So we actually have a question in the chat, and it says, why isn't Facebook an option? And I think that we're really pretty broad with what we're willing to have you do. But Karuna, Nikki, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that you could also use Facebook as well. And actually, that's probably a good platform to do it on as well, because I feel like a lot of people have Facebook, but maybe not as many people have Twitter or Instagram or something like that. So we were just kind of throwing out some options, but definitely you can make a video on whatever platform you want.
Great, we appreciate the questions. So thank you. And please, if others have questions along the way, put them into the chat now. We'll have time for Q&A at the end, but if you have questions along the way, we're happy to answer them through the chat too. Great, thank you so much, Nikki and Karuna. Looking forward to more Twitter takeovers. So moving into April, will be Animate Your Science. Is that Tess?
Woohoo. Hi, everybody. I am Tess again. And something that I really love doing, I don't have an MFA, but I am very artistically minded. And so for me, combining art and science has always been a passion. And when I learned about this thing called Science Sketches, which is an organization, it's an organization that was started by somebody else. I was so excited about it. And so when you attend this event, what you can expect is to develop content for a science script and sketch, and learn a process to record and animate your content. So you're going to be creating a 2-minute video about your science that's like drawn out, animated. So what you'll get from the workshop, you'll understand why you need to talk about your science in a straightforward way, and learn how to explain your exciting research to your family, friends, and other non-scientists. This is specifically for a non-technical or non-scientific audience. However, if you do want to do something more technical, that's okay too. If you want to make it something maybe for your peers or whatever, you can do that as well. So the deliverable will be a 2-minute science script. And I mean, I can talk about it all day, but it'll be easier to understand if you just watch an example video. So Jenny, if you can bring up the example video with sound, that would be great.
The snowball effect, how small changes in cells can lead to cancer. Wouldn't it be amazing if doctors could know if a loved one had cancer long before they showed deadly symptoms? Today I'm going to tell you about normal materials in our cells that change in cancer and how those materials can help lead to early cancer detection methods. If we think of a cell like a house, we can categorize the stuff in that house into structural and functional. Walls are structural, holding the shape of a house, while thermostats are functional, maintaining the house's temperature. Cells similarly require both structural and functional materials. MicroRNAs are one such material that, like a thermostat signaling the air conditioner to cool down the house, will maintain the normal balance of contents of the cell to keep the cell happy. When a cell is happy, it divides and grows in a controlled manner. For example, when skin cells die, new ones appear to take their place at a regular pace. But what if our house's thermostat begins to malfunction and doesn't turn on the air conditioner when it's supposed to? When this happens, the house will become too hot, leading to many other problems. Likewise, if a mutation occurs in a cell, the microRNAs can stop doing what they are supposed to do, and this can lead to cancer. Eventually, the cell can acquire so many mutations that it doesn't look like or function like a normal cell anymore. The cell will grow and divide out of control and become a cancerous tumor. When this happens, it's impossible to fix all the little problems, and we have to treat the big one. Much of cancer research is interested in killing tumors once they have already been formed, but my research focuses on stopping the whole snowball effect before it starts. When the thermostat in the house malfunctions, we can see this by the presence of melting ice, wilting plants, and a dead rabbit. Likewise, the presence of microRNAs can tell us whether the cell is in balance or headed toward cancer. This may be our greatest hope for early detection in cancer. In conclusion, microRNAs are materials in our cells that have the potential to detect cancer early in order to save people from long treatments, painful therapies, and death.
So that's an example. That's something that you can do too. As you can see, it was very DIY. You do not have to have amazing artistic skills. I drew stick figure microRNAs. And yeah, you can do this. And we've created a step-by-step guide that will help you turn your science into a science story, and it'll be great. So I hope you join us for that event.
Hey, thanks so much, Tess. That was so fun to watch. And then our last group of kind of sessions for the communication series will focus on actually how this all got started, which was actually thanks to Tess and her interest in starting a 3-minute thesis competition here at Jefferson. In the bottom right of the picture, I included a slide because if you're doing your 3-minute thesis competition, you get one slide to talk about your research. And Nikki, would you like to talk about this a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah, so the 3-minute thesis competition, this will be our 3rd year holding that. And like Lisa said, Tess started the very first one, so thank you, Tess. And so 3MT is an international competition that we adopted here at Jefferson. And so you have 3 minutes to talk about your PhD research, which sounds kind of crazy, but it's actually a lot of fun. And so the whole goal of this is to communicate your research in a way that's understandable to a general audience. And like Lisa said, you have one slide, no animations. And so the slide, it's really, you have to think about how you convey it, but then also the visual aspect of it too. So it's a lot of fun to play around with that. And I see a couple people who have both presented a 3MT competition, as well as people who have attended, especially this past year. This past year was our first one doing it virtually because of COVID. And so we haven't picked a date for the 3MT competition just yet. We know that it'll be sometime in the spring, but we're holding off to see what happens with COVID and see, whether we can do it virtually or in person this year. And so the deliverable for this 3MT competition is a 3MT training. And so I think Pam will help you with that, and think about the types of things that go into communicating your science in 3 minutes to a general audience, and also the rules for the competition, because there are certain rules that you have to follow. And so PhD candidates are the ones who can actually compete, but we are welcoming postdocs and master's students, and anybody else who wants to attend the training. And then you'll also get a point if you attend as an audience member as well. And so we have a preliminary heat, and so then you're scored by several different types of criteria by several different judges, and then the top 8 usually advance to the final competition. The final competition will be held publicly, that everybody at Jefferson, if they want to attend, they can attend. And also you can invite your friends and family as well too, which is kind of fun and makes it a fun way to compete. And so what you'll get from competing is you'll get a better understanding of your work by learning to communicate with lay audiences. And there are cash prizes. So the top prize in the past years have been $1,000, which is a lot of money. So you should definitely compete, both to learn about science communication, as well as get rewarded for it. So.
Great, and having been able to be a part of it as a preliminary heat judge last year, it was a lot of fun on the judging side as well. So as well as watching the competition at the very end. So thanks, Nikki, and to those who've already participated in it. So Jenny, let's go to the next slide. So, that really kind of ends, that will end our science communication series for this year. So hopefully this is giving you an idea of the different types of sessions that we'll have throughout this year. So we'd also, so now's the time for Q&A, and we want to know, kind of why you're here. Why do you want to tell your science story? Why do you want to tell it better? And actually, why don't you go ahead, Jenny, to the last slide, because I just want to make sure that you remember that to get your points, like we said, you get 1 point for every one of the kind of lectures or sessions that we have. You'll get 1 point for that, but we can only give you points if we know that you came. So again, in the chat, there's a link to today's Google form. We'll keep track of your points, and then you'll get 3 points for a deliverable if you hand it in or not. You can just attend all of them. You don't have to do any of the deliverables, but the deliverables are the fun part. They're the part that really, get you, as we said, to think about your research, or to think about other people's research and how do we explain it and how can we tell our stories even better. Actually, if one of my colleagues can maybe we also have a quick little feedback survey, if we can put that into the chat. And if you have any questions after today, there's the event survey that we just put into the chat. So if you could fill that out quickly, we'd appreciate it. But other questions you can ask right now. You can unmute yourself. And if you have questions after that, we have a dedicated email address now for scicomseries@jefferson.edu. So, and it says we have a quick question in the chat. Let's start with that. If we both attend and do a deliverable, are we receiving 4 points total? Yep, that is exactly right. And if you happen to hand in the deliverable late, we weren't giving anything necessarily last year. This year, we're going to give you 2 points because we know sometimes, you know, things are happening, things are busy. You've got classes, you've got exams, you've got research going on, and you may not be able to do it in the time frame. So we'll give you some points for that too. Because again, it's really here for all of you, and it's for you to get better for yourself to communicate. So let's hear if there's other people out there about why you want to be involved in some of these sessions this year, besides that you're in Pam's class. Are they getting extra credit for this, Pam? Nope. Good. Good. Doing it because they want to do it.
Wait, is this open response?
It is.
So I personally want to become a better communicator, especially about my science, because I think it's a little bit complicated when I explain to people what I do. So I'm hoping through working through the series that I'll be able to relay my scientific knowledge in a very linear way for people to follow.
Great. Thanks, John.
And this is Pam. I have just a quick reminder to all of you. You get a point for every time you show up for one of these, right? So that gives you 8 points. And just a tip, think of it this way. If you want to come to all the sessions, that's great. And then do 2 deliverables, that gets you to your 14 points for your badge. So 8 sessions, 2 deliverables. You know, you figure out what works for you, but come to any of them that you like. Just come to 1, come to 8, come to 3, and really you can be as flexible as you want about it and just show up when as needed.
And again, I think somewhat the coolest part is that you're going to get some feedback on what you've done. So I think so you can even improve even more after that, after getting some more feedback on what you've done. What we'll do, and like we did last year for the career panel, I think that was great because you got some feedback and could hopefully go on and be a successful and a candidate for maybe a medical writing position. So you can get some real world applications here of moving on to that next position. So other questions? Questions, comments of why you're here?
I don't know if you mentioned this, Lisa, or I'm not, maybe I missed it.
No, go
Just
ahead,
to
Tess.
let everybody know that they can come even if they're not in the, even if they're not registered for the series, they can still just drop in and come to any event. You can just come and enjoy and not even participate in the certificate program.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Tess. Yeah, no, I don't think I pointed that out yet. Yeah, so come if you can, only want to come to one other one. You just want to come to career panel, just come to the career panel. Just come to the one about social media. So yeah, you can pick and choose. It does not have to be done for the series. You don't have to collect the points. But if you do, we'll end up at the end with a cool digital badge that's been created actually by Aurora LeBrun, one of our colleagues on this planning committee. Along with Jefferson's marketing communications office. So we'll have this past year's ready to show in very shortly, hopefully within the next week. So we can send that out to everyone so you'll see what you'll be getting this coming year. Any other questions? Questions, like I said, or thoughts, comments, anything else from our team? And what we'll do, because we have, the information about everyone who was here, we can also send you, if the link isn't working for the event survey, we can send that out as a follow-up email as well as our scicomseries@jefferson.edu email that you're welcome to email at any time if you have any questions. Anything else that I've missed, team? Now I'm seeing some heads. I think we're good. So thank you everyone for coming. All of those that attended today will get your first point towards a certificate, or you'll just have learned about the cool sessions that are going to be happening. And yeah, please, as Tess said, come and attend, pick and choose what works best for you, but also think about going outside your comfort zone. Maybe trying, you think, well, I'm not an artist, and Tess says, I drew stick figures, I drew snowballs, you can do it too. So come out and do that, and maybe get a chance to have it on some of Jefferson's media sites and channels. So thanks everybody, and I'll be seeing you at future sessions. October 27th, at the end of this month, will be our career panel, and we'll see you then. Thanks everybody.
Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. I love all the thumbs up. Adita made it. Hi, Adita.
Hi, super late. How did it go?
Good, good. I don't know, we had a high of over 30 people, I think, at it.
I just saw it. It's amazing. That's great. Super
Yeah.
exciting.
We've got some people who have still stayed here. Does anyone have any other questions that we can answer? Paolo or Arhita? UXA009? Maybe they're not there. Just wanted to make sure they were still hanging out here. Whether they wanted to ask a question or not. And I want to hear about John's eye metabolism. I want to hear more about that, so he can make it accessible to us. So it was just really funny when Tess wrote that in the chat, make eye metabolism accessible. It sounded really funny.
All right. See you guys.
All right, ladies, thank you so much. Great start.